What's going on, everybody? So I had some issues on the other live stream, so I'm hoping that people will be able to pop over from that one onto this one. Um, this should be an interesting kind of take because everything's new for me here. Trying to do some new streaming software did not work out for me super well, so I'll have to try on that a little bit. Let's see here. I've got 3 people popped over so far. We had like almost 40 people waiting on the other side. So there we go, 10, 15, nice. All right. Well, everybody's coming on this way. So I so appreciate you guys. For some reason, the software that I was going to use took control of my YouTube, wouldn't let me go live. Then I went on the stream, wouldn't go live. So it is what it is. It happens. Technology is a beautiful thing. But wherever you're at in the world, I so appreciate you taking the time to come hang out with me on a Saturday afternoon. I've got clients of mine traveling from all over the country, meeting. We're showing houses later today, this weekend, kind of crazy stuff like that. Some other folks, shout out from all of you that purchased a house this week from our team. It's been an amazing kind of ride. Just going to get right into it. If you guys have questions as I riff on the first 5 or 10 minutes on kind of an update on what this show is about, what we're going to accomplish today, and what we're going to chat about a little bit, but drop those questions below. That's my favorite part of the place of the show. I think a lot of you get a lot out of it because other people like you are looking to relocate to Orlando, or maybe you already live here. Maybe you're just a Disney fan, a Universal fan, that sort of thing. So asking questions makes it a lot of fun for everybody because you guys are asking questions that everybody wants to hear. So that's pretty cool. So let's talk a little bit about real estate. So this week, I guess since the last live that I did, the market was trending like better and better. Well, if you're a seller, it's better, but worse and worse if you're a buyer because inventory has really started to tank. I ran some numbers just before this, and looking at all of the homes for sale in all of Orange County, there's currently 2,500 homes for sale, which seems like a lot, right? It seems like it's a decent amount of houses. Well, in the past 30 days, over 3,000 have sold. So we're officially in this less than 4-week supply of homes. And if you've watched one of these before, you know that like 1 to 3 month supply of homes, that means it's like a strong seller's market. 3 to 5 months means it's a balanced market. And then 5+ months, it means it's a buyer's market. Well, now we're in this really, really strong seller's market. And a lot of folks call and they say, well, hey, we have to be in a bubble, right? There's no way that this can keep going on and on forever. So talk to us a little bit about that. Well, I've got some numbers for you guys to share. So I was running through a friend of mine. He's an attorney down in Tampa, super analytical guy. I turned to him for like data questions, like where are we at in our market overall? Why is this happening? Like interest rates are low. We get that. A lot of people, like 1,000 people are moving to Orlando every week. We get that. But why else could there be this much demand where you see pricing going up and just kind of crazy things happening? And ultimately what he told me was like, listen, Ken, from 2007 to 2014, we had this recession, labor reduction, cost of goods are going up. And there's essentially 2.5 million houses in the United States that were never built because of the recession. So now we're trying to catch up, right? We were for a long time, we were averaging 700,000 to 800,000 new houses, countrywide for years and years. And then we have essentially what is a lost decade of new construction. And so now you've got these buyers that are in the market, they can afford it, interest rates are low, they want to move, and inventory just doesn't exist. So even though unemployment's a little high, the pandemic is still going on, we finally hit this point where there's not enough homes for the amount of people that are still having babies, getting divorced, getting married, moving to the country, moving to the area. And so we've got this massive undersupply of homes, which is going to continue to raise in prices. And so then the unknown becomes foreclosures, right? Because folks say, hey, listen, there's a lot of people that weren't able to pay for their house, right? And what's going to happen when all of a sudden the federal government says, hey, we're not going to support you guys anymore. You guys are going to have to either pay or go. What's going to have that happen? Well, there's like 2.8 million people in forbearance. Say even half of those people end up going into foreclosure over the next year or two. It still doesn't make up for the gap that we need. Those people still need to live somewhere, so they're going to end up renting. So landlords are still going to buy investment properties and rent to those people. But really, even if that much inventory all of a sudden, all at once hit the market, we still are like 50% less homes than we actually need to keep up with this crazy market. So I say all of that to say, I need to dive back into new construction and figure out where are the trends going. So I did that for you guys. I follow, there's something I paid for. It's called the Dodge Report. It's like $2,000 a year. I can see every major development, both commercial and residential. And the commercial stuff you guys will be excited about for some theme park stuff in a bit. But looking at where are the new construction options coming, where are things happening right now? Winter Garden, you still have thousands of houses of options in the last village of Horizon West. You see Toll Brothers finally announced that they're going to be doing about 300 to 500 homes. Ashton Woods is going to get to do about 300 to 400 homes. And those are my favorite two production builders. So I'm really glad that they're coming back into Horizon West. And so you're just seeing a lot of these people finally buy some dirt, but that's still going to be a year or two before we're like really able to take advantage of those, have those be somewhere where people can live. So I just ranted for 5 minutes on the real estate market and where we're at and where do we go from here? Well, I think for the next year, we're still going to see a very strong seller's market. Earlier today, I shot a video on how to win multiple offers, because that's going to be something that if you're a buyer, you need to know. It's just almost every deal we write right now is multiple offers. It's pretty crazy. So something that you guys will definitely like. Next week, I'm going to drop that. So anyhow, one of the other pieces that I saw in the Dodge Report was that Universal is now putting out for bid for Epic Universal. And if you guys follow that, like that's their new theme park. It's over by my office in Dr. Phillips. And they had pulled back because of the pandemic. Well, now I'm seeing permits and bidding and all of that kind of stuff start to open back up again. So I haven't seen a formal announcement for that, but my guess is that based on the multi-billion-dollar bids they're putting out, that's going to be coming down the pipe sooner than later. So I think that's a good thing. Some Disney news, if you guys didn't see, I put out a video about Gideon's and Everglazed Donuts. Super good review over there if you would check out on the channel. But if those two are, your sweet tooth is like, out there for you, make sure you check out both of those. Also, the M&M store just opened up in Disney Springs. So if you guys haven't been over there, it's a really cool shop. It's like every kind of type of M&M that you can imagine, but then you can also customize your M&Ms. And so we're going to be doing some of those for giveaways for our past clients and some of the people in our sphere. So I'm super stoked. When I look around the freeways, right, I-4, which is like our super busy freeway here, I'm seeing more and more cars, more and more backups, which means tourists are starting to come in droves again. For the longest time, I could get anywhere I needed to in Orlando in 20 minutes. And all of a sudden my commute times are starting to go up more and more and more. So with the vaccine and the numbers doing what they're doing, I do believe that things will continue to get better here as more people move here, as the parks open up and people start to visit us from around the world. So anyways, I'm going to get into some of your questions. Make sure you drop those in the comments. The first one from Pravina. She said, any news on the Western Way connector between Disney and Claremont? So funny enough, I had a listing in Claremont that literally backs to the connector. And I drove back around there and it's like probably, I kid you not, 80 to 100 feet until it's finished. Like you can stand in Claremont and see Winter Garden and it's all of a sudden like, I can see where this thing is going to be. Like they just need to connect. And so my guess is that the counties still haven't figured out where they want to be on who's going to pay for what and finishing that connector, but they are like really, really close. The fact that I can stand in Claremont and see Winter Garden, that's how close the road is from being done. And that's going to be huge. So that my listing that I took was in Serenoa. We ended up selling that one within a week. And those people bought with the anticipation of like, hey, I'm going to be able to drive to Disney within 10 minutes, where now it takes me down and around 25 minutes. And so I think, Pravina, you're probably one of many that are excited about that connector. I know I am as well. Another connector is going to be huge over by O-Town West. So O-Town West is like Daryl Carter Parkway and I-4. There's going to be an off-ramp there that connects all the way over to Apopka Vineland. So you're going to be able to live in Dr. Phillips and not have to take the Sand Lake exit anymore, which is a disaster. Like so many people getting off for Restaurant Row, they're getting off for iDrive. It's a nightmare, unfortunately. And so that connector is done. Like I drove it today. It's not open, but I drove it anyways to see how long it was. And so that connector is done. So all of a sudden when that opens up, O-Town West is going to connect over to Dr. Phillips. You're going to have a lot more ease of access back through there. I think it's going to be a really cool thing for everybody. So let's dig into some more questions. So Jeff asks, looking into Island Village in California, I'm in California, how can I secure a lot? Well, listen, in the next, what is today? It's the 6th. They're talking about a month from today. they're going to start releasing lots. I'm hoping that I get a couple days advance notice. I blow them up. They love me. I sell enough houses that they love me, but like there's a lot of people waiting for Island Village. They told me that they've got an interest list of over 6,000 people. And so it's going to be an interesting thing, that first phase that opens up. I think there's going to be a lot of people that jump on these lots. That being said, I think that about a month away, they're going to start releasing lots. And I drove back there. There's a couple models, single family, and there's also townhomes that they've already finished. And the product that they're building, I was telling somebody this the other day, the product that they're building is really nice. Mattamy in general is a good mid-grade builder. They're not super high-end, they're not low-end, they're just really good at what they do, kind of in that middle of the road. And it looks to be that they raised their standard for Celebration Island Village, and I think that's a good thing. If you guys know anything about Celebration history, some of the first phase had plenty of issues that were just poor construction, poor quality of materials. And so a lot of these older houses, just a lower grade. So a lot of people that buy those have to completely remodel. And there's a place for that if that's something that you really want to be location wise. But that being said, Island Village looks like it's going to be really quite nice based on the product there. So Jerry asks, I'm from Orange County, California. What would be the first steps on relocating? So I think the biggest thing is taking a flight out here, grabbing an Airbnb or going to a hotel and just kind of really getting to know the area. So I'm going to move this over. The area that you really want is so important because Orlando's huge. Do you want to be, close to the theme parks? Do you want to be within a short drive? Do you want to be an hour away? It doesn't matter. Narrowing down the area is going to be first. And then what's going to happen is if you're ready to go with the financing, we can help you purchase that house. Or if we're waiting, hey, listen, Ken, I know I want to live in the Winter Garden in one of these 3 neighborhoods. I know I want a 4-bedroom house under 600,000 with a pool. Well, with a pool is going to be pretty tough nowadays, but with a pool in the neighborhood. And so that way, when one hits, we can jump on it. My team and I, one of us will shoot a video. We'll send you a walkthrough on the property, and then we can jump on the property that way. So I've got a whole process of this because there are so many people relocating from California, from higher tax states, from cold states, whatever the reason. And so that's kind of the process. So first one, come out, get to know the area, and then kind of go from there. So, here's a good question. So Stephen Clark asks, how do you compete with cash buyers? It's a good question. So I think that when you're going against multiple offers, there's a lot of things that you can do. One, making sure that you have a full approval from a lender first. So it's not find the house and then figure out financing. It's always financing first. And so having that lender, go through, make sure it's a full approval, that you're good to go, and that you can try to shorten that closing process as tight as possible. Because the reason why sellers love cash is it's like they don't have an appraisal issue and they can close quicker typically. And so if your lender says, hey, I've already done the full approval up front, I can close in 27 days, that's pretty competitive. And then I also typically have my lender call the listing agent when we're in negotiation. And I say, hey, listen, call them to make sure that they understand that they're a very well qualified buyer and that this is essentially just as good as cash. And they do that a lot of times for us. The other little tip I'll give you guys going into the video that I shot earlier today is having your inspection kind of lined up ahead of time. So a lot of times lately, I'm calling my inspector and saying, hey, listen, what's the quickest that we can do an inspection on this property? If we're going to get an acceptance on Friday, can you do the inspection on Monday? And then instead of asking for a 15-day inspection, right? Doesn't matter if you're cash or finance. There's some people out there that want a long inspection period, and sellers hate that. They don't want to tie up their house for 2 weeks, start packing, and then all of a sudden you back out. So getting that inspection period closed up as tight as possible is going to help you win out over cash. The last thing I'll say, this just came down over the past couple of weeks. If you are a client of mine, you might have heard me talk about buyer love letters or writing a letter to the seller in order to gain their approval or gain their, gain their favor. That's actually now considered, it's not illegal, but it's potentially a fair housing violation because we've got a lot of protected classes here, right? So age, sex, religion, sexual orientation, a lot of different protected classes that we can't touch. And so a buyer love letter, if you use these, and this has been commonplace for decades and decades, right? You write a letter to the seller so that they get on your side, right? Well, if I'm I'm a single guy trying to buy a house where the families lived there for 20 years and they're like looking at me compared to the family that's also trying to buy, and they're like, oh, we're going to go with the family because it's a family home, right? Technically, there's a housing violation there because they chose somebody else over me because of my family status. So those are going away. So if you're thinking about buying a house and your agent suggests one, just know what you're getting into. It could be an issue. Lots of good questions. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I so appreciate you guys. Jose Alamo, what's up, my friend? Good to see you, man. How do the SunPass tolls work? So you get basically, there's two different systems here. There's the ePass, and then there's the SunPass. The SunPass works also on the ePass system, so I typically just go with the SunPass. But you can either get one of these little stickers that go up in your window, and there's a little tag on there, a barcode, or you can get a suction cup that you can take with you from multiple different cars if you only want one, or maybe you have multiple cars. Anyways, you preload it. And so like I do, because I drive a ton, like I just looked at my odometer this morning. I put like 34,000 miles on my car in the past year. It cost me about $100 a month. And so every time you go through, it just automatically scans it, deducts it from your account. On average, it really depends. It clocks like when you get on the toll road and when you get off the toll road. And so if you go for a really long way, it'll be more expensive. It's a quick on and off. It's cheaper. And so it ranges from like 50 cents to $1.25. And so, I mean, for the amount of time you save, for sure, use those toll roads because it's definitely something that'll be really good. All right, so Ned Kelly said, are there certain areas that people from certain countries relocating to? For example, there's a lot of Brits relocating to Winter Garden. So that's like a thing I'm not allowed to talk about in regards to like different kinds of people where they're relocating. I would say that a lot of second homeowners own a ton in short-term rental areas because they want to have some income from that, right? And so you see a lot in like Davenport, Kissimmee, Reunion, places that you can rent out while you're not there, like short-term rental basis. And that's not everywhere in Orlando. That's like a definitely common misconception, is that like all of Orlando can have short-term rentals. There's very specific areas that allow short-term rentals and other ones that'll fine you up to $500 a night if you get caught renting short-term rentals. So a lot of my British clients, they do buy in short-term rental areas so that they can get some income while they're not here, right? They're staying here for 6 months out of the year, renting it out the other half. So doesn't answer your question exactly, but hopefully that gives you a general idea. So the Glaspies ask a great question. They said that they're, Mark here from Toronto, he asks, what would be a good area for long-term rental investment? Any suggestion on short-term vacation rental investments? So yeah, I think, so as an investor that looks for long-term rental income and also appreciation, I look at where the job's at, where it's going to be a little bit more stable of an area. And I think that's like Lake Nona. It just depends on the price point that you're looking at, but I look at growth areas first because I want to be able to cover my nut, get a little bit of cash flow, but then I'm also looking for the upside, right? And so where do I think the most upside is going to be? I think Lake Nona is that. Some areas in downtown Orlando. I look at Winter Garden because that's just super close to Disney and there's just a lot of people moving here. You're going to definitely cash flow in those areas. And then also get some appreciation. And then depending on your budget, you might not be able to afford those areas. So maybe you're looking elsewhere. So feel free to reach out. I'll give you some suggestions on areas that I think you should look at. From a short-term investment standpoint, this is an interesting one because I get a lot of folks that call me and they're like, well, I'm going to make, I'm going to buy a $500,000 short-term rental and make 10 grand a month. Well, maybe on a gross perspective, in a really good market right now, the pandemic's obviously got us all way down in terms of occupancy. But you have to look at, if you're not self-managing a short-term rental, they're actually terrible investments. They'll help you offset some of the costs, of ownership, but they're not amazing investments, unfortunately, because you've got management fees. They charge typically 30% if they're doing everything for you. That's like finding a tenant, placing the tenant, the pool pump breaks at 1 a.m. while someone's partying out there. They take care of that stuff for you. And then if you have a mortgage, right, you've got the mortgage, interest, HOA, you're paying the utilities, whereas on a long-term, someone else is paying the utilities. So on a gross number, the short-term rentals always look really sexy. They're like, wow, if I can get $200 a night, that's $6,000 a month and my payment's only $3,000, that's good money, like really good money. But then when you start looking at all of the deductions and all the things that it costs to operate a short-term rental, they're just not the greatest. What I see a lot of people do though, is like they own them because it offsets their vacation home. And if you're doing it for that reason, as long as you're clear, then do it. Like, I think it's a great thing. I mean, if I didn't live here and I wanted to spend a month out of the year and I wanted someone else to help pay off my asset, I would do it in a minute. But I guess you just got to get really clear on the investment piece. Hopefully that's helpful. I'm sorry, going through. There was a lot of questions today. This is like amazing, and this will be super helpful for everybody. So someone asked, "What do I think of KHOV as a new home builder?" They're good quality. They definitely do a good quality. They're starting to. Gosh, this is live is going to be around forever. So I need to be careful on what I say. There's interesting changes from the top down in every builder, and they're going through it right now as well. I think that they're having issues with land, so they're running out of land, and they're doing some interesting things. They took away being able to allow an inspector come into your house during the building process, which I don't think is cool. I think that there's plenty of inspectors that are, they're going to find issues, and some of them get way caught up on cosmetics when they probably shouldn't be so caught up on cosmetics, and they should be looking for like health and safety and like major construction work issues. But KHOV got rid of their inspectors. So I think going in with eyes wide open, again, in any builder, that's where you want to be. Like Lennar, as no secret, they're not my favorite, but they're also the most economical builder there is. And so if your budget is X and they're your option, right? But just knowing that the quality isn't as much as Toll Brothers, or some of these other higher end ones. And just, again, going in with eyes wide open, understanding the process, having somebody kind of hold your hand through that so you know where the gotchas are, that's important. That's super important through the process. So anyways, I think they build a good home overall, though. I really do. What's up, Jan and Edward from California? So excited for you guys. You guys got a house. Talk about multiple offers, right? We definitely had to go through it to find the one, but I think you guys are going to be stoked about where you guys ended up. Super, super cool. Someone asked about the packing district downtown. So packing district near College Park, it's like this whole old like meat packing area. There's all these little districts in downtown Orlando, for those of you that don't know, and they'll have like their own little charm. They've got there's Winter Park, Baldwin Park, College Park, Thornton Park, Delaney Park, and then all these other the Milk Packing District, Mills 50, now the Packing District. And so they've got, I know, new townhomes going in, there's new retail, there's a new Foxtail coffee going in. They're really, the people behind it, I think, are doing a really smart job. The Dr. Phillips development company is also doing a lot with that. And so anytime that they're behind it, I think it's going to be amazing. So for an investment standpoint, I think getting in early there would be really smart, because as the footprint of downtown gets like nicer and nicer and nicer, I think it's definitely something to pay attention to. So yeah, good question. These are amazing. I love it. Sean, what's up, my friend? Appreciate you. Awesome information from a fellow agent in the area. So Janlyn mentioned, driving around different area. Yeah, Ken's advice about driving around areas is huge. So yeah, I mean, the cool thing about not moving here for the future, I know a lot of my clients, they'll come in there, they come here for Disney, right? They come here for the lifestyle, the weather, they want to hang out in better weather, climate, all that kind of stuff. So getting to know the area is huge. If you guys want me to, I do this for a lot of people, and I'm so happy to do it. Let me know what you guys are into. Like, hey, outside of Disney, we're into the performing arts or the food scene, or whatever it is, and I'll give you guys kind of a couple different pinpoints based on like your budget maybe and different things. I'll say, hey, listen, take here pinpoint A, B, C, D, E. If you follow this tour, you're going to get a great idea of like what life would be like in Orlando. So I'm always happy to do that. If you guys want to email me, ken@pozekgroup.com. And when you're here for vacation, if you're thinking about in the future building or buying, definitely something I can help out with. Do you need a sinkhole inspection? Paul asks, when buying a house in Windermere. You don't. I've not heard. I mean, Orange County has had a couple sinkholes. Here in Horizon West, there was actually a pond that all of a sudden mysteriously emptied, like a big pond mysteriously emptied, and they said it was like a little sinkhole, right? But insurance companies don't require it, and inspectors typically don't even offer it unless they see some sort of structural issues with the house. So if you see these huge stucco cracks or things starting to settle, like you have a 10-year builder warranty if you're buying with a builder or a newer home. That's cool. But unless we see an issue, we typically don't get sinkhole inspections. Um, Julianne, I'm so happy that you guys and Geo found a great house. He's awesome to work with. He's like one of my top guys. Like I've got an amazing team. That's one thing I wanted to make sure I put across on some of our content. So like I love working with clients still. I'll sell, 100 homes this year personally. I deal with clients every day, right? So, but I also have a team that when if I'm booked up and you guys are like, hey, we're in town, we want to get out and see houses immediately, and I'm booked up, I've got an amazing, amazing team of like total rock stars in their own right that I have on my team that like we work together in tandem. So we're texting about deals and we're texting about, strategy and hey, so-and-so wants to move to town to buy an investment property and we're going over this together. And so like my agents on my team, put it this way, there's 24,000 realtors in Orlando. That's a lot of realtors. That's a lot. And last year, 70% of them sold 0 to 1 home. That's pretty bad. And so my average people on my team sell around 40 to 50 homes a year, which is incredible. So anyhow, Gio, I'm super glad he helped you out. He's definitely excited for you guys to be in the area. If there's anything I can do to help in the process, make sure you reach out. Software and Hardware asked, how hard is it to add a pool? Most backyards have very little easement. You're right. And some pool companies, if it's too tight, they will either upcharge you like a lot to get back there because like they have to basically do a lot of stuff by hand. They got to dig your pool by like this little machine instead of being able to bring in a big dump truck. And so so pools, like there's one pool company, I think it's All Seasons Pools. Their motto is like, there's no backyard too small for a pool. Like they're going to fit you something. But just understanding that some of these places are a little bit more expensive to get into. They will rip up your sprinkler system. They will rip up your grass. It is a whole process, but the end product is going to be amazing. One thing, I just got a pool bid, not for our house, but for a client of mine, and they were bidding out like 8 months from the time that they signed on it to where they could start digging and be ready to go. I mean, pool people are booked right now. The good ones anyways. If someone can come out and say, hey, I can start tomorrow, that's probably not the pool company you want to go with. But yeah, I mean, because people are home more and they're just like, because of the pandemic, they're like, you know what, we kind of would rather have a pool. And so these good pool companies are sincerely booked up. But yeah, they are a little bit more expensive on the smaller backyards. Melfin C asks, have I worked with many buyers from the UK, and how complicated is the process for a first-time home purchaser from another country? Hi from Wales. Well, hey, thanks for watching. What is it? It's like 8:30 there, right? So I so appreciate you watching. So yeah, I deal with a ton of sellers and buyers from the UK. It seems like them and Canada are like the two major, and Brazil, I guess, are the three big ones that we see people buying, selling all the time here. And so, it's actually fairly easy. There's a mortgage process. If you're going mortgage, if you're paying cash, it's actually quite easy. If you're getting a mortgage, I've got a specific lender that all he does is international mortgages, because there is a process. It's not super easy. It's not as easy as, a US citizen would be, but it's the process is there. We can get you through it. No big deal. It's a little bit more down on the down payment, but again, definitely doable. Just remember on the way out, this is one big one. I need to do a video on this actually. On the way out, when you sell a house and you live outside of the country, there's a FERPTA tax whole process that you have to go through. And so buying it is actually super easy, selling it super easy, but just there's a whole process that you have to go through. So I've kind of become a specialist in this because a couple of my clients every single month are from another country. And so there's just some things that just to know through the process about taxes and that kind of thing. So I can hook you up with some great people locally. Willie Ortiz, he asks, are there communities that have a similar feel to Celebration? My wife and I are currently exploring neighborhoods and would love to meet you if you can. Yeah, for sure. So Celebration, let's see. So Celebration was built out by David Weekley and a bunch of other smaller builders that did a really great job. And so if you want something similar to that vibe, though, that downtown, sort of that craftsman look, the old Victoria style houses and that kind of thing, Baldwin Park is very similar to Celebration, has a very similar feel because a lot of the builders were the same. And they actually took a nod from Celebration when they were developing Baldwin Park. Oakland Park, which is out in Winter Garden, that's also very similar. A lot of the same builders, very similar vibes, same style homes, similar amenities. There's nothing quite like Celebration just because of all of the events and everything that they do, but like Baldwin Park is pretty close. They do a great job. So yeah, that's where I check it out for sure. So Daddy Sports 79 says, in the midst of my first home purchase in Lake Nona, just finished the inspection. Any advice about asking for credits and issues found? So always lean on your, actually, dude, if you can ask, let me know if you're represented by an agent or not, or if you're buying new construction. I'll tell you just in a very broad spectrum. I mean, we look at health and safety here, and then items over $300 when you're negotiating inspection issues. So if they find mold, if they find electrical issues, if they find anything health or safety, usually the sellers are going to either give you a credit or get those finished before closing. And then other items over $300, essentially not cosmetic stuff. Like if it's not cosmetic, or if it is cosmetic, then it is what it is. You bought an as-is house, unless it's new construction. And then he also says, what happens about a house doesn't appraise at the agreed sales price? Same guy, Sports 79. So if it doesn't appraise, there's a lot of different things that you can do. One, you back out of the deal. Two, you split the difference with the seller. So if it's $20,000 deficiency on appraisal, you each cover the $10,000 and then you move on. Or C, if you really love it and it was multiple offers and the seller's like, hey, I'm not doing anything, then you just move forward and you pay that gap. So if your lender was like, hey, you're approved at an 80% mortgage, you got to put 20% down. Well, then great. Now you got to put 20% down plus the deficiency of the appraisal. And I'll tell you what, right now in appraisal situations or multiple offer situations, I'm prepping a lot of my buyers to say, listen, how much over appraisal would you be willing to pay? Because we might want to put that in our offer. Like, hey, listen, we're willing to pay $5,000 over appraised value, not to exceed the purchase price. So if we bought the house for $500, it appraises for $480, we'll pay you $485 upfront. We'll let you know, not to exceed the $500,000. So we see that a lot, and it gives it a little bit more clarity to the seller to like feel a bit better, especially when you're looking at in that scenario, say all of the comparables are 480 and they pushed it to 500 because it was multiple offers. They know it's probably going to appraise for 480 already. So you're coming in and saying, listen, we're all gambling here. It could be 480, it could be 490. You take 5 appraisers, you line them up and ask for a value. They'll give you 5 different values because it's just an opinion. And so that kind of helps mitigate that process as well. Goodness, lots of questions here. Let me just make sure I got them. Got some of these here. The Pooh family official asked, I love all these Disney people, like seriously makes my heart happy. John's Lake Landing in Claremont, which is like David Weekley and MI Homes. I think they both build really great homes. If you're talking to David Weekley, you're probably talking to Josiah out there. He's the guy out in that neighborhood, does a great job for them. I think they're great builders. They really are like a really good mid-grade builder. John's Lake Landing itself is in a great area off of 27. So like, although it's a bit farther out there, you're getting a lot for your money, which I think that's why people move to Claremont, is because it's cheaper than, less expensive anyways than Winter Garden. And yeah, I think it's a good spot. To 79 viewers. First off, this is my 3rd live. I'm going to be doing these at least every other week. I so appreciate it, and I promise the content will continue to get better. I love doing the Q&As with you guys because honestly, the questions you're asking, someone else is going to watch this video later and be super glad that you asked. So thank you. I love the opportunity to just kind of engage with you guys on a Saturday afternoon. It's pretty cool. Off to Disney, you said mail me your mortgage broker details. Yeah, shoot me an email, ken@pozekgroup.com. I'll connect you with any of our vendors that you need and get you guys squared away. Do we work with 55 and older communities if a customer is interested in those? Yeah, of course. So there's a ton of new construction with the 55 and older. And what's really interesting to me is there wasn't a ton around Disney for the longest time. I don't know why. To me, like, you've got the Villages, which is about an hour away, and I've got like a Villages expert on my team. You have some close by, but not as many as you'd think in here in Orlando. And so thankfully you're seeing a lot more of those. Claremont, Quahog has one in Kissimmee. Pulte is putting up one. It's called the Oasis in Horizon West. That'll be like the first 55 and older community in Horizon West. I think it's a good one. So yeah, we'd love to give you a list of them and help out every way we can. Just give me 1 minute. Stephen Clark asks, With so many offers above asking price, are you seeing issues with homes appraising for enough? Yes. Yeah. I mean, last year, I would say 1 out of 5 had appraisal issues. Now it's more like 2 out of 5. And again, just having that frank conversation with your agent upfront on exactly what you're willing to do in an appraisal situation or a shortfall, it is what it is, unfortunately. So making sure you have an idea like what you're going to do if it comes in or when it comes in low. Are you willing to go above? If you're not willing to go above, you're rolling the dice, right? If it's going to hit the mark or not, because appraisers, some people think that appraisers will just look at the contract, see that it sold for 600,000. Oh, it's worth 600,000. If somebody's willing to buy it, that's what it's worth. Well, unfortunately not. They have to back up their opinion of value based on data. And so appraisers used to be able to use comparables that were a year old. Now it's 6 months old is what they had to back up to. And now they're actually allowed to adjust their value based on what's happened in the past 6 months. So if this house sold for 400 6 months ago, we know the market's kind of appreciated at least 3 months since then, or 3% since then. Now it's worth 412, right, or whatever it is. So it's such an interesting opinion, right? And that's the crazy thing is like you can uproot your whole family, get ready to buy, and some appraiser that maybe isn't even from the area gives you an opinion of value, and it could be low. So just having that candid conversation. What's the fastest and slowest completed? I've completed a home sale. Fastest, it was 11 days from the time we listed it. Cash buyer closed in 11 days. The longest was when we used to do short sales. I mean, some of those took years to finish, which was such a headache. But yeah, thankfully we don't see as many of those nowadays. I'm just gonna go back through here real quick. Goodness gracious, I think I got a lot of them, at least that I have good questions on. What are my thoughts on Groveland? I think Groveland's very similar to Claremont. Claremont is, people moved to Windermere, which is quite expensive now. Windermere, Dr. Phillips. Then they pushed out to Winter Garden, which is, I think, still fairly affordable, but for many people it's not. So they're pushing to Claremont. Now Claremont's prices are going up. Like that house I talked about earlier in the stream, where I had somebody who purchased a house 2 years ago for $240. We just sold it for $320 2 years ago. Huge appreciation. So now, not as affordable. People are pushing to Groveland, Mineola, some of these other areas out there, like farther Lake County, Mount Dora, right? We just did a video with Bree, my agent partner who lives in Mount Dora. And so, yeah, I think Groveland's great. I think it's like the next Claremont, right? I think that, the farther out you go, the less expensive it gets. It seems like really far away, but then once you get there, you're like, oh, it's not so bad. And then like a couple of years go by and you're like, oh, it's in the middle of everything. Like there's stuff everywhere. Right? And so that's how Claremont was. That's how Winter Garden was. And I think that's how Groveland eventually will be. Barry asks, how many people can be on a mortgage? I've seen 4, like 2 couples be on a mortgage. So mom and dad, and then the 2 kids, wife and husband or whomever. I've seen 4 be on it to apply. And so that you've got a co-signer essentially. But really what happens is the top 2, unless they're all living in the same house, right? The top 2, mom and dad, are helping. They can really afford it, and the kids are on there because they're going to be living there. So it's not an investment property technically. So talking to a great lender would help you out, but I've seen up to 4. Hey Kit, good to see you. Thanks for saying hi. Helen, thanks for dropping in. I appreciate it. What's the best bang for your buck that's part of OCPS, which is Orange County Public Schools? I mean, so that's Orange County, right? What's the best bang for your buck in Orange County right now? I would say Moss Park, Meridian Parks, pretty good bang for your buck. It's kind of like Lake Nona adjacent. If you want new construction in Orange County, probably the best bang for your buck. Because like Winter Garden, some other places are a bit more expensive than that. So I would start your search there. So Jess Thompson asks, I live out of state and I wanted to know what price range of homes will fit my budget. I was told that I can't get a pre-approval until I have an offer letter from a job in Orlando. Yeah, so I would just chat with a lender and say, hey, I'm currently making X amount of dollars a month. And based on my current debt load, they'll run your credit. Based on my current debt load, what can I afford? And so they're going to help give you just a ballpark range, right? They won't give you a pre-approval letter. Your comment is right. They won't give you a pre-approval letter until you have that offer letter here because they can't give you a mortgage on a job you don't have yet. But if you say, hey, listen, I'm going to be typically moving laterally, like I see this with a lot of my clients that are like nurses, doctors, whatever, they're coming down for many reasons. So yeah, once they come down, hey, I'm going to have a kind of a lateral move. Plus, I'm going to get the bump because I don't have to pay state taxes anymore. And so that's probably where I would start. Is chatting with a lender here in Florida is also a good idea. I know a lot of clients of mine, they'll use like Chase or Bank of America or Wells Fargo. And unfortunately, some people, depending on who they assign it to, don't do a good job lending in Florida. So talking to a lender that's actually in Florida would be a good idea as well. So feel free to email me and I'm happy to give you any interests there. So Tim asks, regarding Golden Oak, for equal size home and finishes, what do you think a premium is to buy in Golden Oak per square foot? So it depends. This is a crazy thing. And if my Golden Oak friends are watching, hello. So there's only 6 more cottages left in Golden Oak and 1 over in the Four Seasons, which is crazy. 3-4 years ago, there were still hundreds of houses left. They were selling like 1 home a month. That was kind of their annual cadence of just like 1 to 2 a month. Then all of a sudden the pandemic hit and they started selling 3, 4, 5 a month. People were flocking here. And so now they're down to 6, which is just kind of blows my mind, makes me a little sad because I love going to visit those guys. But anyways, I digress. I go back. So the Symphony Grove, which is like their smaller, more high-end package, if you will, it could be up to like $1,000 a square foot. But the details in those homes are just unbelievable. Like, it's definitely not a production house at all. Like everything is custom. And so you're paying for that craftsmanship. And so, yeah, about $1,000 a square foot. Outside of that, let's see. I don't want to speak out of turn. Let's see what I got here. Outside of that, it's really not too much better. It's maybe $800 or $900 a square foot inside Golden Oak. And so you'll get a less expensive house in other places, but you're not going to get the lifestyle. And so really that's what you're buying. In Symphony Grove, you're buying a little bit more on the craftsman side, paying for the craftsmanship rather, but you're just buying the lifestyle. That's where it really comes down to. Katie's Boutique asks, what are some of the best mid-price builders in my opinion? So I always say, if I had to rank them, I hope I don't get in trouble for this kind of stuff, but if I had to rank them, this is what I would tell a client if I saw you in person. So if I had to rank them, I would say Lennar and Ryan build sort of like the most economical type homes. Economical is a good word, right? Economical base price homes, base price build. And then it goes up to like DR Horton. And then it goes like Mattamy, Meritage are kind of like in there. They do a good job, but they're a mid-tier builder. And then above them might be like David Weekley, Ashton Woods, and then above them is Toll Brothers. Somewhere in there is Taylor Morrison. I would say Taylor Morrison builds about the same as David Weekley. So there's a lot of those mid guys in there. There's only a couple at the bottom, and then there's only 1 or 2 at the top, and then everybody else kind of is solidly in the middle. And they all have like different processes. Some of them will be like, hey, some of our standard features are better. Like, hey, we do quartz throughout. It's included. But if you want gutters, we're going to charge you for those, right? So it's like this constant trade-off between builders on who offers the better base package, who offers the better windows, roof, warranty, process, all that kind of stuff. I could go on and on about builders because that's like, I do a ton of it. Thanks for watching the Mount Dora video. It's funny. I put in other people in my videos and they get better views. Makes me sad. Not really. I know Bree did an amazing job. She's super knowledgeable about Mount Dora. So yeah, thank you for watching. Jermaine asks, is the Lake Toho area in St. Cloud a fast growing area? Yes. So you see people from like Lake Nona that are now priced out, that if you don't want to go to like the Moss Park side, then you go to the St. Cloud side. And that area is blowing up. Townhomes that were like 180 there are all of a sudden 240. I think that there's a lot of land left there too. So like that's another reason why builders are starting to blow that out. So it's an affordable option. It's obviously like Lake Nona is Orange County, St. Cloud is Osceola County. So looking at schools, looking at some other stuff like that, you'll want to dig into. But I think it's a great economical place for sure. All right, I'm gonna take a couple more and we'll wrap up. For those of you sticking around, there's still 8 of you guys watching this. That means the world. This is so super cool. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram. I put out stuff about Disney parks, real estate. That's kind of like what this is all about. So it's at Ken Pozek, super hard, right? At Pozek, make sure you follow me there. I love to engage with you guys. I can kind of see what we do on a day-to-day basis, ask me questions, all that good stuff. Super, super helpful. Goodness gracious, we have like 116. What are my thoughts on Hanover Family Builders? Yeah, they build a good home. Like they're a good mid-grade builder. Actually, I think higher mid-grade for sure. Biggest adjustment you had to make. Ooh, I like this. Biggest adjustment you had to make lifestyle-wise since you moved down. For us, it's been the lack of walkability and public transportation. Still love it down here, but it has been an adjustment. I'm curious where you're from with the walkability. I agree though. You pretty much drive everywhere. I was doing a video the other day in Dr. Phillips, and some parts of like near O-Town West is going to be, I think, a very walkable spot, which is pretty cool. But nothing compares to like, living in downtown Chicago or downtown New York or something like that. We just don't have anything like that. Even downtown Orlando is pretty spread out. And so, getting to the Publix, getting some other places, like you have to be pretty comfortable walking a mile to get like all the stuff that you would need. I would say though, stuff that we've had to adjust on is really just the weather. It took us a couple of years to get used to the humidity, and now it's kind of like not that big of a deal. I think understanding like where non-chain restaurants are and like getting to know these areas, like the fact that I get to do this for a living, I'm just super blessed because I just every day diving into new neighborhoods, looking at restaurant openings and looking at new developments that come through. For us, it was getting used to, not eating Chick-fil-A every day and like trying to figure out what else there was out there. And so getting to dig into that outside of the suburbs, I think is pretty cool. So that's for us. Yeah, so you lived in New York. Yeah, slight difference in terms of that. All right, so I think I'm going to wrap it up for today. Any other questions? Make sure you feel free to reach out. Again, always happy to help, and I appreciate you guys watching this. Trying to think. The next one we're going to do is going to be in a couple weeks. I'll make sure I post it at least a week in advance. But thank you for taking your time. For those of you guys in the UK, good night. For those of you guys in California, I hope you guys had a good lunch. And yeah, I think that's it. So thank you so much for everything that you guys do and for following along. We'll see you guys on the next one.